I am Leo London, welcome back to my channel, and I am very excited to present my Pendulum Magician build for January 2021. Now initially it was going to be Magistus Pendulum Magician, but after a lot of work and trying to make the deck work and figuring out that Crowley does not search the invocation like I assumed it did, the engine got cut from a full Magistus package to pretty much nothing. It's a very small engine, but the engine gives us something that the deck is sorely lacking, and that's a strong normal summon. Now normally our normal summon, the best we can do is normal summon a tuner after already summoning the Dark Worm. Now that doesn't always work. Sometimes we can't ditch the Dark Worm. Sometimes we get the Dark Worm and not the pen call. We simply have no way to ditch it. This fixes that problem. This is a one card starter, and if you have any experience playing Yu-Gi-Oh, one card starters are very good. And this isn't the strongest one card starter ever, but it is a step in the right direction. I'm hoping to build on this and maybe expand on it and figure it out with future support maybe, and figure out ways to make it better. So if you like this video, like, subscribe, comment, make sure to check out the Facebook group Yu-Gi-Leoh to have your voice heard, and please check out my Patreon. Every little bit of support helps a long way to keep this channel growing. And with that, we're going to get into it. Okay, so first thing in the deck profile, of course, we're leading off with Best Girl, Harmonizing Magician. Of course, she's at 3. She's one of the best summons in the game. You Pendulum summon her, she brings out another one directly from the deck, another Magician, so you can Synchro summon, XC summon, or what have you. Just remember that she must Synchro or XCs with a Magician, and because for once we're not running just Magicians, there is the Magistus cards that does come up, and you can't Pendulum summon her from the extra deck, so just remember that. Up next, Black Fang Magician. You cut the Vanity's Ruler attack in half, and then you're much more easily to punch over it. Or conversely, you could boost the attack points of one of your monsters and punch over it that way. Double Iris Magician will search out a Pendulum Graph upon destruction and will let you punch for double damage. So these two combined together, you can do some big damage. 2 copies of Oath Dragon Magician rather, just in case you banish it off of Pot of Desires. This is your ideal low scale. Yeah, so it's just important enough that I had it at 2. I never regretted it 2. I don't see it enough to want to cut it to 1. So yeah, 2 is a good number. 1 copy of Dragon Pit Magician. This is because we're in a back row heavy format and you're going to need to clear back row. And if you have one of any other Magician and then the Dragon Pit Magician, and you pitch the Dark Worm to pop one of their back row and then combo off with the Dark Worm, trust me, it is a very satisfying play. The Zengek Magician just doesn't do anything in this format. There's not a lot of, yeah, you're just never going to resolve that negation effect. It's just not worth it. I don't see the point in playing it right now. Maybe if like Construct was running around, yeah, if you're really worried about Construct, run it maybe. If you play against a lot of shit-alls, but I don't. I play in a back row heavy format, so that's, yeah. That's why I go with the Dragon Pit Magician as the level 7. I know that's somewhat controversial for some reason, but we are in a back row format, and that clears back row. I don't know how else to explain it to you. 1 copy of Dragon Pulse Magician. This is a flex card. I have considered taking this out as of late, but every once in a while when you use it to pop one of your opponent's problematic monsters, like a UTC or something like that, you just pop it and get rid of it. It's a pretty good feeling. The Tzolk'in or whatever, you just pop it and you're good to go. I got messaged, what do you do against double UTC, Tzolk'in, and then 2 other things? I'm like, well, you probably lose in that situation. But if they only have 1 or 2, just taking out one of them, that could be a huge boon. If people cut this, I totally understand why. 1 copy of Time Gazer Magician, strictly as a target for the returning Chronograph Sorcerer. Yeah, this is just another way to get another body on board to go into your Link 2. Yeah, I've generally side this out going second to make way for my sideboard. But yeah, up next, 3 copies of Supreme King Dragon Dark Worm, because you want this in the graveyard off of your pen call. There is no Revolution Dragon. Unfortunately, it had to be cut for space. But if you wanted to take out Allure of Darkness, put in Revolution Dragon, you absolutely could. I would totally understand that play. 1 Gate 0 to search off the Darkworm. 2 copies of Tuning Magician. Great extender. I almost played it at 3. Almost. But I was seeing it a little too much. Seeing it in your opening hand isn't that big a deal because you can still special summon the other one out from deck, or if you use Pot of Desires, you know you have one in hand, so it's safe. You can just go into your Halki-Fibrax that way and summon it from hand. It sucks a little bit, but it's better than not getting it at all. Yeah. You're going to use this to form the Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss. And that's in the deck as your Dark Ruler No More play, and I'll explain that. This is Zora the Flame Magistus. I want to say it again, Zora the Flame Magistus. Unfortunately, they did not arrive in time, so I don't have the actual cards. This is the normal summon. With this, you can either set up Borreload Savage Dragon. I wouldn't recommend it, but you could, theoretically, set up Borreload Savage Dragon if that was your last resort, but you can go straight up into your Appaloosa Bow of the Goddess or your Access Code Talker and start clearing stuff out. It's very, very potent when it's successful. Crowley, the Magistus of Grimoires. This is to search off the Artemis, really, and then special summon occasionally. Generally speaking, it's just to get the plus. This is the one Garnet. I would consider it a Garnet. You never want to draw it. 3 copies of Duelist Alliance to search out your Pendulum Call. You're primarily going to be looking for Pendulum Call, but if you happen to open a Pendulum Call and a Duelist Alliance, you search out the Time Pendulum Graph. 3 copies of Allure of Darkness, because it says draw 2. That's busted. 1 copy of Upstart Goblin because it's at 1. 3 copies of Pot of Desires because it says draw 2, and that's busted. And then 1 Instant Fusion, 1 Called by the Grave, and 1 Time Pendulum Graph. And that's the main deck. And with that, we're going to get in the extra deck. 1 Artemis, the Magistus of Moon Maiden. What a name. So this is going to be the link you attach to your normal summoned Zora to begin the whole sequence. And I will explain that in the combo. So Nightmare Phoenix would not actually be in the deck if I had Evil Swarm Nightmare here, but I don't. It's unfortunately with my bulk collection at my friend's house, and I'm not able to go over there under quarantine. So Evil Swarm Nightmare or anything else you want to put in there, even if it is the Nightmare Phoenix. 1 Christian Halki-Fibrax, very important. 1 Nightmare Unicorn. Again, this is a flex spot. You could put anything you want there. I just happened to open both of them with Genesis Impact, so I put them in. 2 copies of Selene. I never run 3. I think if you burn through 3 in 1 turn, you're probably wasting a whole lot of resources, and should look at how you're playing your combos. 1 copy of Appaloosa Bow of the Goddess. 1 copy of Access Code Talker. 1 copy of Abyss Dweller, who is amazing in this format. Very, very good. Shuts down grave effects, and a lot of the top decks right now need grave effects. Drytron comes to mind immediately. Somebody asked me about zombies. This is how you kill zombies. You make a Dweller and pass. 1 copy of Raider's Knight and 1 copy of Arc Rebellion Xyz Dragon to just 1 punch for game. You can Grand Maju punch somebody and just win this way. I've done it many, many times. 1 Void Ogre Dragon and 1 Borreload Savage Dragon as your main spell and trap negation, and with 1 Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss for your Dark Ruler No More protection. Now, it is a bit situational, but this will protect you from Dark Ruler No More. And then 1 Millenniumize Restrict. Okay, so now for some combos and some questions that I got asked on the last video. So one of the questions I got asked was, how are you making Arc Rebellion Xyz Dragon? And that is very simple. So let's say you have any 2 Dark level 4s. So let's say you special summon out the Dark Worm, you then normal summon the Black Fang Magician, whatever the scenario might be. You Xyz, And that's why Raider's Knight is in the deck. Into the Raider's Knight. You then detach one. And you get right into the Arc Rebellion Xyz Dragon. And since Arc Rebellion Xyz Dragon is protected from destruction, it won't be destroyed as it would normally be under Raider's Knight. Now, if you want to negate all other monster effects, you detach the Black Fang Magician. If you have a Savage Dragon and an Appaloosa and all these things, you want to detach the Raider's Knight so you don't negate your own monster's effects. Yeah, that's how you summon Arc Rebellion Xyz Dragon in the deck. Okay, so how can I use Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss to stop Dark Ruler No More? So let's say your opponent activates Dark Ruler No More. Now normally you wouldn't be able to activate monster effects in response to this card activation, but what you can do is activate the Time Pendulum Graph. You can then activate Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss, then target Dark Ruler No More, which would be face up until it resolves. So you then negate it, and then you don't even have to have scales or any targets for Pendulum Graph. You just have to be able to flip it over. And then you've chained Abyss to Time Pendulum Graph, not to Dark Ruler No More, and thus you are able to use Abyss to turn it off. Okay, so with this hand, we have no way to get to the Dark Worm, no way to get to the graveyard, and thus we would have no power plays, no normal summons. Even if this was harmonizing, we had no normal summon that was worth anything. So instead, we have the Magistus, Zora, the Flame Magistus. We normal summon it, we activate its effects to attach a Magistus monster from the extra deck. Now, as much as I wanted to make Magistus Evocation and the fusion work, it really doesn't. So unfortunately, this is your only option, Artemis. Once Artemis is attached to the Flame Magistus, you'll be able to special summon another spellcaster from your hand, and that's how you're going to get access to your Link 2s. But it doesn't stop there, as Artemis, when she is attached to a Magistus monster, can search the deck for another Magistus, and in this case, it's going to be the Crowley. Then we go into our Link 2, and special summon out our Christian Halkifibrax. Now I know a lot of people hate this card, but unfortunately it's just the best way to get us protected from Nibiru. Special summons out the Tuning Magician. We then activate, let's go with the Pendulum Call. We're gonna send the Crowley, search out 2 Magicians. We're going to go with Harmonizing, of course. And then the Double Iris Magician, because it's so popular. People just love this card. Then we activate our Pot of Desires. We've drawn another Flame Zora and another Pen Call, so unfortunately a dead card. So we go into our Selene. Selene brings back a spellcaster from the grave. Let's say the Crowley. I really love all the Magistus cards. I really wish that they were better. But unfortunately, they just don't cut it. Up into our Appaloosa, Bow of the Goddess, with 2 counters. So this is how you're going to be safe from Nibiru. If they Nibiru you before this, you still have your Pendulum Summon. You have all these resources that you can just go off and set up with anyway. Then you Pendulum Summon. You activate Harmonizing's effect. Now at this point, you decide what you need. You can go into Dweller and Savage, or what have you. But we're going to make the Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss and Borload Savage Dragon. So these 2 go into the Void Ogre Dragon. You then use Tuning Magician's effect. And then you Synchro, banishing the Tuning Magician into the Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss. And then you Synchro Summon into the Borload Savage Dragon, which attaches the Selene. for 3 more negations. So that's using the Magistus cards. Okay, for this example, we have our normal summon, we have the Dark Worm, and we have Pen Call. This is absolutely nuts. Then I just shuffled and drew 2 random cards. Not super important. So the first thing we're going to do is activate the Chronograph Sorcerer. We activate Chronograph Sorcerer's effect. This is to try and bait out an Ash, and a lot of people will Ash it because it does stick your scales. And in this deck, it's not super important to have Oath Dragon's effect because we can search out another, as long as we have one, we can search out another one of the tuners. So it's not super important, but it still helps. But in this case, we're going to get the Time Gazer. Then we're going to activate the Pendulum Call, sending the Dark Worm, search out 2 Magicians, Oath Dragon, and Harmonizing. Then Dark Worm is going to special summon itself from the graveyard, and we are going to add the Gate 0. Then we're going to normal summon the Flame Magistus. Flame Magistus attaches Artemis. When a card is attached to Flame Magistus, you special summon out another spellcaster. When Artemis is attached to a Magistus card, she can search out another Magistus. We're not going to search the Crowley. We're going to search another Flame Magistus because we want that tuner. Now here, we could go straight into Selene for our 4th summon. Selene would bring back the Flame Magistus for our 5th summon, and then we can go into our Appaloosa. Or we can still go into Halqifibrax. It all depends on what you're thinking. But regardless, if they Nibiru you before you Pendulum Summon, you don't care. You're going to set up negations anyway. You just play Yu-Gi-Oh! So in this case, we're going to Link Summon into the Halqifibrax. Halqifibrax. Bring out Tuning Magician. Then we can just go into our Appaloosa here. We just want to put 2 counters on Borreload Savage. That's why I went that way. Into Appaloosa. We scale the Oath Dragon Magician. We add back the Harmonizing Magician. And since we have done all our searching, we activate the Pot of Desires. Unfortunately, we have banished the Time Pendulum Graph, so Duelist Alliance does no good. Yeah, but our hand, as you can see, is absolutely loaded. So we Pendulum Summon. We activate Harmonizing's effect. Oh, the Gate 0. Forgot the Gate 0. We then Synchro Summon. I keep forgetting that this is a substitute. I keep trying to turn it over. Into the Borreload Savage. We attach the Halqifibrax. Tuning comes out. This is another reason you wanted to go into Halq first, is you wouldn't be able to get that second Synchro Summon. Void Ogre. And then 1 Xyz. Now you could do Evil Swarm Nightmare like I really want to, or Abyss Dweller, whatever you want to do. Then you would have to set the Duelist Alliance because Void Ogre Dragon can only negate if you have no cards in hand. So we're going to do one more hand. See how it goes. Alright, so first, we're going to activate that Allure of Darkness. And we're going to banish the Black Fang Magician. We then scale the Oath Dragon Magician and activate the Duelist Alliance. This will bait out an Ash for sure. And for the sake of the video, we'll assume they don't have it. We get the Time Pendulum Graph. We activate the Pendulum Call, sending the Dark Worm. We get the Harmonizing Magician. Sure, double Iris Magician. We activate the Chronograph Sorcerer, activate Chronograph Sorcerer's effect. Actually, we might as well resolve this at the same time. And the Dark One's effect, just cut out one different search here. Add the Gate 0 off the Dark Worm, and then put the Time Gazer. Now, again, Time Gazer can always go to scale by Chronograph Sorcerer's effect, regardless as to whether or not you have monsters. Don't at me. Normal summon the Harmonizing Magician, and Link summon. Out comes the Crystron Hulky Fibrax effect. Special summon out the Tuning Magician. Into our Celine. Celine special summons the Double Iris Magician, just so we don't have to give your opponent any more life points. Into our 2-star Appaloosa. 2 counter, whatever. We add back the Harmonizing Magician, and then we Pendulum summon. Now this would be your Evil Swarm Nightmare, or whatever it is you want it to be. Special summon the Tuning. Tuning synchro summons with the Gate and banishes itself because it was summoned off its own effect. Void Ogre Dragon. Again, not bad.